Hello, my name is Cam, and this is my presentation on Strength to Love by Dr. MLK Jr. I read Chapter 9, and this is my presentation on it. So at the beginning of the chapter, Dr. MLK Jr. really focuses on the fact that people and institutions and things are not perfect and are not complete. He says, so almost every affirmation of greatness is followed not by a period symbolizing completeness, but by a comma punctuating its nagging partialness. He's referring to the fact that when we're talking about institutions and people, we often use language like, America's great, but I think it can be improved upon. Or we'll say something like, this song has a great beat, but it's kind of repetitive. We often use that comma but language because we know that nothing is really perfect or complete. To Dr. King, he explains three main dimensions of completeness. Those dimensions are God, yourself, and others. And he says when one is out of whack in your life, it can throw off the balance of all three of them. Next slide. How do I do this? Okay. So the first one on his three dimensions of completeness is yourself. Dr. King is a strong advocate of taking time to know yourself and to pursue things for your own pleasure and for your own desires. He says that you must realize that there are doors of opportunity that are opening now that were not open to your mothers and fathers. This great challenge that you face is to be ready to enter those doors. So he's speaking about Black college students in this sentence and how they are given more opportunities than the people before them. But I think that we can all relate to the fact that we are given opportunities that are here because of the work and the effort that was done by people before us, especially if you're part of any sort of minority group. This is especially true. Dr. King also says to set yourself earnestly to discover what you're made to do, then give yourself passionately to the doing of it. So we're supposed to use those opportunities that we're given to figure out what we're really made for and how best to use the gifts that we're given. And we're instructed by Dr. King here to passionately give your life to working towards achieving those goals that you have and working towards pursuing that career that you have, whatever it is that you feel your passions and your talents line up with. He says that's how you achieve your best self. The other part of the three-dimensional pyramid of completeness is other people. Dr. King says that no man has learned to live until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. What he's saying in here is that even though it's so important to pursue passions and desires for your own benefit, that cannot be the entire goal of your life. You don't live a full life until you put down your individual needs and desires every now and then for the concern of all humanity. He also speaks and says that the tension of race relations is a result of the fact that many of our white brothers are inordinately concerned in their life, their economically privileged positions, their political power, their social status, and their so-called way of life. So what he's saying here is that racism and white supremacy stems from selfishness because the white man does not want to give up his higher privilege and his higher political power to people of color. And so he says that, he says here that selfishness is what the root of racism often is, because it can be difficult for someone who's had privilege and power their whole life to altruistically give that up for the benefit of humanity, but ultimately it's the only way to ensure that you are fulfilled in your life. And I mean, as we all know, it's the only way to really make sure that we are working towards a more peaceful and more equitable society. The highest point on the three-dimensional pyramid of completeness for Dr. King is God. He says that without God, all of our efforts turn to ashes and our sun rises into darkest nights. What he's saying here is that no matter how we pursue betterment of others or betterment of ourselves, it's not going to mean anything in the kingdom perspective unless you are doing so for the glory of God and if you're walking with God. He also claims that God is still in his universe. Our new technological and scientific developments can neither banish him from the microscopic compass of the atom, nor from the vast, unfathomable ranges of interstellar space. So what he's saying here is that even though the world's a lot different now than it is in the Bible that we read, God is still fully present in this universe, and he's present in the absolute tininess of the molecular structures of things and in atoms, but he's also present in the infinite vastness that is space. So what Dr. King is saying here also is that it's amazing that we get to meet God in the middle of those two spaces and use his glory to work for the betterment of ourselves and for the betterment of the people around us. And while it seems insignificant on the scale of the universe, it's, according to Dr. King, not insignificant to the scale of God. So that's a really inspiring thing for a lot of Christians, because it means that even though it seems like everything we do can be futile, to Dr. King, every way that you work to fight against injustice and everything that you do to uplift the people around you does actually mean something. Thank you, guys.